Vinay, how are you this morning? What is
I
keeping you
am
motivated?
I'm very well. What is keeping me
Mm-hmm.
motivated? It's the sunlight, the sun.
Mm-hmm. So, uh, you are currently working with NITI Aayog. Let us start with what exactly do you work there? What is working with NITI Aayog like?
Sure. So actually, I am working with Atal Innovation Mission, which is an autonomous body with NITI Aayog, along with NITI Aayog. And at Atal Innovation Mission, our mandate is to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in our country, and that we do through like 5 different kind of programs that we have. So just briefly touching upon those programs is the first program is Atal Tinkering Labs, under which we set up tinkering labs across the country. Till now, we have established 9,600 tinkering labs in which we give grants to the schools. Maximum of them are government or government-aided schools. Then the second program is Atal Incubation Center. We call it AIC. And under that, we have established 68 incubation centers across India in various universities, some corporates, and some societies, trusts, these kind of entities. Uh, then the third program is ACIC, Atal Community Innovation Center. It is also an incubation center, but mainly targeted towards tier 3, tier 4 cities, and also local community issues. So how to enable the local leaders in those communities. And the fourth program and fifth program is Aneek and Arise, Atal New India Challenge and Arise. Both of these programs are giving grants to startups directly. One of its kind program where what had been done was that some problem statements were sought from various ministries that our country has, and these problem statements then they were converted into a challenge, and then startups had invited in, and then some 30 plus startups have been granted through these programs till now. So that's about the program.
That sounds uh, quite a lot of things. Um, Let us start with the beginning. When did you join NITI Aayog, and how did you join NITI Aayog? How did you join this role that you're working in?
Certainly. Before that, like maybe quick my background. So I graduated in 2014, and I did my MSc in Maths and Stats from IIT Kanpur, as you know. And then for almost 5 years, I have worked in various places, starting from a corporate to a startup, and then a bit of social and development sector in sustainability, etc. And then I had also not heard of this, like this ability to be able to work with the government. So once I got this message from an alumni, senior alumni, sending this message saying that, hey, we have like, would you like to apply? You seem to be a right fit for this application, which is the Atal Innovation Mission Innovation Lead. So I was like, okay, I never knew that. So then I applied for it. And this was almost 2 years ago. And then when I applied for it, there was a process in which I had to fill up a very elaborate form. I mean, these forms are sometimes not like, I mean, they are exhaustively designed, so you have to really invest your time to fill those forms up. And then I waited. Then the shortlist came. I was shortlisted, and then the interview date came. And then I gave the interview. An interview was taken like by big shot people like the CEO of NITI Aayog, Amitabh Kant, and the Secretary of DST, Department of Science and Technology, and our own mission director of Atal Innovation Mission. So all these some high profile people took the interview, and what I felt was they were eventually looking for two things. I think one is the skill set, at least some kind of skill that I have, base skill set. And then the second was also the Geel, I think, in some ways, like, some passion and enthusiasm to do something. So these two things. And yeah, so then that happened. Actually, and then the results, I waited for that quite a bit. I was not shortlisted in the first round. the first screening, and I thought I was not. And then after 8 months of the interview, I was invited. I was given a call, and at that time I was consulting with a startup. Then I was like, okay, this sounds now is the time, and then I took it up. Yeah, that's it. Since then, I've been with Niti.
Your background seems quite interesting. You graduated from IIT Kanpur in one stream, then you pursued a course in sustainability, and then you joined something that is I'm assuming different from these two. So how did you manage to have an expertise in texting, then why, and then you are currently pursuing that thing? Or if I'm going wrong, please correct me.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I tried to diversify my understanding, and not necessary. I think it's about at what stage I chose that I want to go into a different area. Yeah. So for me, like data science was something that I inherited through my the course, the mathematics and statistics course that I did. I took it up and I enjoyed it to a great extent. I learned a great deal from that. But at some point, there was a personal craving also that comes around, and how we look at the world and how things are around us. So at that point, I felt that sustainability and like to saving ecological conservation is something that could be taken up and needs to be taken up. So then I went into that direction. And I learned a great deal, I think, on ground understanding, going to different farms, doing on myself some bit of farming and all those things. So that gave me a great amount of that grounding of how, like where the problems are stemming from. And then yeah, and then I also did not restrict myself to any opportunity that was in front of me. So then this opportunity came, and I honestly did not know the functioning of the government. Being from a very rural background and not a lot of exposure, I still keep learning a lot of things. Like when I joined Niti, I did not know that in our country we have like a ministries kind of a mechanism, where we have like almost 60 plus ministries and departments in our country, and these ministries are focusing on different kind of areas of our life that we live. So yeah, so that's how I think. I don't know if I answered.
Hmm. Of course, you did. And meanwhile, while we are discussing, I would invite all the attendees to
Yeah.
feel free posting your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat section. And so let us go back to your college days. Were you uh, did you ever had did you ever have this idea that you will one day start working with the government, and considering the norms that we have about government, that it is hard to get into the government, or it is hard to get things done within the government? So what is your take on that?
Yeah, my parents are government servants. They are teachers, both of them. My brother is also a teacher. So I've only looked at that government service, and it did not fascinate me much. I mean, it fascinated me with the impact bit, but not with the like the workings of how it is. So yeah, and when I was in college, I really did not see myself to be working with the government. I did not have. I think a lot of people at our college chose, if they had to work with the government, they chose the path of UPSC, which I did not foresee because I had different plans for myself to be a businessman and that kind of a thing. And but when this opportunity came, I was pleasantly surprised that I am here, and uh, it is similar. It is similar to working in a job, and like you are having some goals and target, and you have to strive towards it. I feel there is a little bit, personally, I feel there's a little bit of meaning that associated more. I feel in comparison to working with a corporate or so. So definitely that helps.
Okay. And so you said uh, you worked for uh, for private company for some time. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And what exactly did you work on? Let us understand more on your expertise in that sector, please.
Sure. So I mean, as I said, my background was maths, so data science was something that came to me. For I worked with TCS one. My first job was TCS R&D. For me, it was more of a learning only, learning all these analytics tool, and TCS was a great place to be at. It gave me like a strong base of data analytics and data science. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was first. And then the second private job which I was with is one company named Abjuba Analytics. It's a US based company, have an office in India as well. So with that also my work was data science, and it was more of, like I have those skills of being able to code on R, Python, and also visualize data and have some mathematical modeling techniques and all. So like we would get different projects, we would have different data sets available, and we work on that data to derive insights out of it. Yeah, so that was the job.
So coming from a background, coming from an expertise where you were good at data science, and then you enjoyed you pursued, which you also enjoyed, like you mentioned. Um, you pursued a course in sustainability. So these two things, data science, sustainability, are they? Do you think you are utilizing these skill set in the current role with the government?
Definitely. Yeah, I feel that.
Mhm.
Data science one, I mean, obvious, because if you have the skills of being able to look at the data and derive some insights out of it, that is useful in uh, any kind of scaled up version, because you would end up getting, now that IT is at its peak, you would end up getting a lot of data, and then you would want to look at it. Not a lot of people around, I mean, at least where I am right now, who can do that. But I'm sure it will keep changing, like, because a lot of people are getting into data analytics and all. So yeah, so that data science is something that I mean, it is part of me. Wherever I am, in whatever kind of conversation I am, or whatever kind of project that I am in, I think it comes out in any way, that way. Yeah. The sustainability aspect, I mean, it might not be visible directly, but that also helps a lot to me, is
Mhm.
because firstly the grounding, because right now, the with the government, you end up working at a macro stage and a macro level, and then at that macro level, it is hard for us to visualize, what is happening at the ground. We are saying that we have established 9600 plus schools, adult tinkering labs in the country, uh, but one has to have some bit of grounding to be able to relate, like how the communities would be in that school, or how the students would be, how they would be feeling, right? I mean, I keep losing that touch from some time to time, but then I have to remind myself by making a sudden visit, or like just being with myself. So that's one. And then second, also in terms of processes, also the sustainability aspect helps. Like at my college, at my place, Bhumi College, where I was studying sustainability course, uh, there was like one thing which was taught to us, was the principles of nature. Yeah. And these principles of nature, which I feel applies in every aspect of life, like I'll quickly mention those principles, is the diversity, right? So being working in such a uh, government, you need to have that ability to diverse to bring together diversity of the people and the country and all those things, right? And the interdependence is there with the nature. How do you understand? Because right now at Atal Innovation Mission, also my role is kind of developing an ecosystem. An ecosystem is actually a term which is coming from a nature in a way, right? Nature is the perfect example of an ecosystem. So so deriving those insights of nature towards developing an ecosystem, I try to. Don't know how much I succeed, but I try to do that. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And so we have some questions in the chat section. What is special about NITI Aayog compared to other departments? Uh,
Yeah.
then we have a couple of other questions in that we collected before the session. So
Mhm.
feel free to answer if you want. And
Yeah, I mean that's a classic question. NITI Aayog compared to other government departments, definitely. I feel it like uh, whatever my answer would be might not be the answer, but my understanding is that NITI Aayog has that ability to uh, work on an uh, evolved frameworks, like because of the ecosystem that it has created, the ecosystem of the laterals. At NITI Aayog we have almost 250 plus people like me, who are like a private lateral entrant. That term is called lateral hiring. So, and then diverse people from different background, any kind of background. So that's one, like that expertise is available, and then that could be utilized by other departments if they would like to, like any ministry wants urban ministry wants a like Ministry of Urban Affairs wants a person who has an urban planning understanding and has worked in the sector for a long time, and also is willing to work. Right? Like that's one concern also in the government department. So uh, these people, like with the passion and expertise, if they are there, then things like they are able to be, they are a good asset to be utilized by the government. So NITI Aayog is positioned that way in any sector, any kind of work. Yeah.
hmm, you mentioned that you got into this role via lateral hiring. So can you tell us more about how one can get into government via lateral hiring route?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a full exhaustive understanding of all the departments or ministries. I
Mm-hmm.
shared about the NITI Aayog's hiring when I, like in the initial session. But generally, what I've observed is happens is at different ministries and all. And so, as I told, right, in India we have almost 67 ministries and departments in our
Mm-hmm.
country, and then a lot of them are opening up for this possibility of hiring. You can call it young professional or lateral entry or consultant. Yeah, these kind of
Mm-hmm.
people, and this is a on contract job. So uh, at NITI the contract is directly with the government. In some of the ministries and departments, that contract they sometimes route it through some consulting company. You know about that. So uh, that that happens. But however, the process is like, if it is a direct hiring, like a lateral entry direct hiring by the government, then they have to put across a tender, and what do you say, the hiring recruitment notification. They have to put it across to their website, they have to put it across to newspapers, at least these two places. And if the ministry is really keen on hiring like the right set of people, then they go out of their way and then do kind of a broadcast on LinkedIn and all these other places. So, and then that's how one comes to know. One feel, I mean, I definitely feel this awareness is not there, and also this knowledge is also not there. There's no exhaustive one place where one could find what all government vacancies are available, because it's so hard to collate. Like even I don't know, being here. So that's one. But the good idea is to keep checking some websites, some ministries website and all these things. Yeah. So that happens, and after that, like I think internal shortlisting happens, because given the scale that our country is, we receive like one rush to at least 50 or 100 applications for one job, right? And then the shortlisting criterias, they, I think, internally define. And what I have observed here at NITI, at least, is there is a um, I mean, there is a like a uniformity around who, like on the shortlisting process, right? Like being a government, they have to be really transparent, so they have to let know of what was the shortlisting criteria. And these criteria are sometimes just the marks and all these things, but little bit of experience and all these things they try to bring in. Yeah, so then shortlisting happens, and after the shortlisting there's a hiring, I mean the interview process generally. Yeah, and then during that interview, whatever happens nowadays, all the interviews are happening online, at least at NITI. So and after the interviews, you get the invitation if you are selected. There are various other steps, like I mean sometimes this process takes longer than anticipated, and being inside I understand why it takes longer. I mean being outside I was also complaining ki, hey man, you took like 8-9 months to give me a call, but now I understand. So yeah.
Hmm. And okay, so you mentioned in order to that there are that various government departments and ministries open showcase advertise roles periodically. So can you advise us on how one can, maybe write a good application or get the interview call, or what is the process like there? How to get a
Yeah.
interview call?
The first step is getting to know that this kind of role is available. So that, as I shared, like one has to keep checking different ministries' websites, and like read newspaper if they want. They do. And then second is, in terms of interview process, generally I've seen that it's only that like it's a mass application that is being invited. There's a platform which is available on which people are supposed to fill in like their details, a little bit of their experience and all those things, and then they have to upload their resume, and after that the shortlisting happens. Yeah, I've not seen a process where they make it a little subjective, where like there is a, at least on the level which I am at, on the consultant level, maybe on a joint secretary or additional secretary advisor level, they go beyond. Yeah, I mean where there's a really immersive subjective process of hiring someone. But here like it's just a regular how they do it at different corporates. So I mean I think in corporates also now they started giving a value to cover letters, and how like the application letter that the one person puts in. Government doesn't have that capacity till now because of the scale that is there. I mean like I've seen people going through 800 list of applicant for hiring like some 4 or 5 resources. So it's a big scaled up applications that are available. Yeah. So going a subjective assessment, I don't know. I think I am hoping that AI will solve that problem in some ways at least, where like you can scan through and given like some subjective terms that you want to identify some resumes out of. So yeah.
Hmm. And so, and what happens if you get an interview call? How do you advise on preparing for the interview? What kind of questions do they generally ask? What kind of skills they generally look for?
Yeah, yeah. Right. So, I mean, it would vary on different ministries and how their approach is. The best thing which I feel now could be done is, first is to understand the outlook of that particular ministry and department. Yeah. So, how to understand an outlook is by going through their website and their social media handles. Yeah. So one can really understand um, uh, the vibe or the tempo with which that ministry is putting out their updates, how much they are frequent on putting out their updates, or how their website is structured, how much information is available, and meanwhile also learn all the work that they do through the website. It is a lot of time not fully updated one, and also it's hard to really visualize, right? One can only memorize ki you do this, you do that, but it's hard to visualize unless you have that experience ki this is what they mean when they are doing this. Yeah. So Yeah, so basically go through the website, understand the messaging that ministry is doing through their this understand that mindset, and through that mindset then understand what kind of challenges and problems they would be having, one, and then also what kind of work they are doing, so how to get deeper into it, how to have a better impact towards it. So have a lot of ideas. Also try to concise your worldview with the worldview of that ministry, and then bring, like, if you are able to bring these two together, then you can put that story out there. People like in interviews, people like, when someone tells a story in a story format, ki, hey, this is my story and this is the organization story and this is where I fit in. So yeah.
Hmm. Uh, uh, what ministries, what government institutions are open to hiring these lateral entrants?
um as I said, I mean, almost all, like, I think this lateral hiring is an old concept, matlab, like, I think I was just going through one article, just reading about the history. So our union minister Jitendra Sharma ji had said na ki since 1960s this lateral hiring has been going on, hiring experts, not at the scale that it is right now. In fact, a good example is our prime minister hired as a economic advisor was a lateral entry. Uh, so this kind of lateral hiring was going on, and in almost every department it happens. The crux is, I mean, one is that how transparently it is put out, or how much broadcast it is being broadcasted, how much awareness is there in the public of these hirings, is something that needs to be looked at. And then once someone, I mean, all these ministries do, and nowadays, like, there's a little bit of competitive federalism also coming in between ministries and state departments, right? So not only the central agencies, even the state departments, they are also putting application out and saying if you want to hire people, right? Like the chief minister fellowship of Haryana, that's a good example, right? And in a lot of Mumbai, I know Maharashtra is doing it. uh, I know Haryana is doing it. Rajasthan also, there are some vacancies available. So a lot, and Goa, Kerala, all these different departments, they are trying to bring in people to, with this, uh, like, from the private sector.
Hmm. Interesting. And uh, so the only so we can always start with looking out for open roles, and then, as you said, get an overview of what that ministry works on, what that ministry is expecting from you. Is that the right way?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely right, Vicky. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Getting an understanding ki what the ministry is working on currently, and being able to relate to that is one way for sure.
Hmm. Okay. And so we talked about how one can, get into a role like yours. Um, but let us now talk about uh, things that you work on, so that we can understand what is it really like
Yeah.
working for the government. Please, please tell us about your current role, how uh, you know how fulfilling it is for you working for the government,
Mhm.
if it
Yeah,
is.
sure. Yeah, so my current work here and role here is I work as an innovation lead. I have been associated with the Atal Incubation Center program at AIM, Atal Innovation Mission, and under which, as I said, we have established 68 incubation centers across the country. Um, how it is being established is that the government gives grant of up to 10 crore to these incubation centers to establish their incubation center. Yeah, and when they give grant, there are certain KPIs, goals and deliverables that needs to be met by these institutions. So my role, one is primarily to ensure that this grant, the giving the grant process happens smoothly. And I mean, there are various steps to it, and like various processes to these giving grant process. but one is the goals and deliverables for sure, right? So for the goals and deliverables, the idea is, and also the compliances, right? When government gives grant, there are certain boundaries under which the grant needs to be utilized. Like, for example, under the capital expenditure or operational expenditure, how much can we spend, right? And the institution has to give a plan also. So as the AIM team, we ensure that whatever plan that they have submitted, that is being followed along with the GFR. So there is a general finance rule that government has, and then the GFR is being met. So that was one. And then second is, on a ecosystem level, as I shared, is also trying to, because NITI Aayog is an aim. I always say that AIM is a evolved mechanism of establishing, like, of working towards the innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. So in our country, we have other ministries like this DST, Department of Science and Technology, BIRAC, Ministry of Biotech, Ministry of Agriculture, yeah, Ministry of Textile. All these ministries, a lot of ministries have their own incubation program, what we do. But AIM is rightly positioned to, be able to tackle it like in a wider spectrum of a school, of an incubation center, and of a startup also. Yeah. So all these things, one can through AIM one can visualize. So now we as a AIM, like, also need to work towards bringing all those, like, concise that different ministries working, even the private sector incubation center and different ministries incubation center. So all these things, if how can we have a macro level understanding and map the ecosystem, and then how do we take it forward? So those kind of strategic initiatives also we take. So yeah.
That sounds very interesting, Vinay. So, mm, mm, but so we talked about what are the good things about working for the government, or no, actually we didn't. Um,
Mhm.
we can take this question again. What exactly are the good things about working for the government, as per your understanding?
I'll go both good and bad in mix of it. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
it's bitter and sour always, sweet and bitter.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I mean, one challenge one faces for sure is being able to fit in. Like, it's a government way of working. At NITI Aayog, fortunately, it's not that much governmental. Like, things move fast. But I'm assuming, and I've heard that in some other ministries, these kind of challenges do happen where there's a little bit of bureaucracy and little bit of hierarchy that exists. And coming from a corporate and this kind of an open environment, one kind of feels restricted to those. Yeah. So that happens for sure. But at the same time, with that, like, with that complexity also comes some bit of stability of how you can work and the systematic process of working, right? If one uh, understand that these are the constraints, and, like, one can also not accept it but understand, like, we understand, like, I understand that these are the constraints, I have to follow this process of giving a grant to someone, and I'll always try when I reach that position. If I can change, then I'll try to change it. But as of now, I'll just accept it, understand it, and then go through it. Uh, and then, like, with the stability, you are able to like, uh, go into wide also and in depth also. Like, you can go up for the 9600 plus school also, and then individual school level programs also, that one can at least try to visualize, right? And also, I mean, one thing for sure is, like, with the working with the government is learnings that happens, right? Like, our generation, most, like, many of us have not fancied government jobs other than the UPSC, and especially I would say the urban youth and coming people, little who are coming from a little bit affluent backgrounds. We have not really looked at government job as an option. Like, it happens in rural areas. So um, So like this, but to be able to understand the government system is also a privilege, and it's also some virtue that we can get, because it gives you how the country's rhythm is, like how it is being shaped. Yeah. So that's one, like a good thing working with the government. What else? I mean, pay is not that great if one is only looking for the pay in comparison to the corporates and private sector. But at the same time, it is competitive. It is moderately better than, like if one is working in a social or development sector and private sector, somewhere in between uh, that exists. And I mean, there is a bit of I mean, one can easily develop ego with it, but a bit of achievement, a sense of achievement also, because like what people are seeing on the news and media, you are actually working on those things, and like there's a flip side to it. Kind of a reality of those things, and sometimes how it happens, how things are propagated in the media is not how it is actually happening on the ground, right? So sometimes it is like taken to extreme, right? So those understanding also you have makes you maybe probably more wiser in some ways. So yeah, those things. I don't know if I'm missing something. Please you tell me, because you have
No,
also
no,
worked with the government.
no, no. You're on point. And but uh, so so first of all, thank you for sharing some of the benefits and some of the negatives that you think
Yeah,
mm,
there's a
about
question in the chat box. Is like, today not a working day? Does NITI Aayog offers flexibility? I mean, it is a working day for me. That's why this session is from 9 to 10. I had to take like a special permission on like just joining in little late. So I'll be heading out just after this call. And it's work from home is not there right now. It was there when there was a peak COVID. Yeah.
Well, coming from that part, Vinay, uh, w- uh, what is the work environment like in the government? Is it too much work every day, or is it you know uh, too much work or less hectic? What is it like? How flexible they are with work from home options, as someone mentioned?
Yeah. Work from home option is not there as of now.
Completely not there.
Yeah, not there. uh, I think it would also like little bit. Of course, there's a personal levy that one can utilize based on their superior, and like the child, whatever personal issue that they are facing, and I've utilized it at some times when you would really can't make it. And
Mhm.
uh, Sorry, what was the other question you were saying? The first part.
So, just the about work environment.
Work
How's it
environment.
like?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and NITI, it's actually vibrant, I would say. That's one term
Hmm.
for sure, because of the diversity and the scale, like number of people that are there. But at the same time, under NITI also there are different verticals, like one person works at, right? So NITI is, if I were to give an overview, mainly three areas of work. One is the DMEO, which is the oldest vertical department of monitoring and evaluation. uh, and then for that vertical, the idea is that DMEO looks at you know different schemes by the central and government, and then have an input output outcome kind of a frameworks on those things. We like how those schemes have performed with respect in comparison to how they were supposed to, promise versus how they are. So that's one DMEO department. And then the second is Atal Innovation Mission that we are, where we promote innovation and entrepreneurship. There is a grounding to us because we work with certain agencies and we give them grant. And then the third is the NITI itself, NITI core that people call. Under that, there are different, for each sector, there is a vertical. Like there is an agriculture, healthcare, education, all these different teams are existing. And then these team, and there are like a group of 5, 6, 10 people who are there, experts who are there, and most generally headed by a IAS officer, like an experienced IAS officer. and then this team work on that particular area, like healthcare. For healthcare, there's a team of 10 people, and that team is working towards uh, creating solution for that, like whatever for healthcare related country level, whatever intervention things that happen, right? They would be involved in those kind of things. Like Ministry of Health, of course, they would be associated with women and child and all those things. They work on those kind of projects. So, and so sorry, I got into the project working environment again. Getting back to that is, um, so that way, like it is a lot of diversity, and one learns from every kind of possibility that is available there. Yeah. um, so that's what, and one has to have a little bit patience also, like because initially one generally faces some bit of resistance to come in. Like even if you join, you have to have that ability to get through people and their perspectives, and then like you'll be open to available all those informations that are there. Yeah. So that way, yeah, the working environment, as I said, it's what you make out of it.
True, absolutely. And mm, mm, so there are a couple of questions about NITI Aayog's internship program, which I believe runs in every month.
Yeah.
If you are
Yeah.
aware
So
of that, please. Mhm.
for the internship, like you can go to the website NITI Aayog recruitment, that portal that is there, and in that every month from 1st to 7th, I think, I suppose, from
First to 10th.
1st to 7th, the 1st to 10th, right? So the application window opens and one can apply for that. Yeah, thanks, Shika. So, and then you can apply, choose month, and then and you have to choose which department you want to apply for, right? Like there is all those. I suppose DME is also there somewhere, and then aim is under innovation, and then there are all these healthcare, agriculture, whatever is your area of expertise and whatever you want to work on. Frankly, the internship portal is very basic. It just asks for your like your percentage, that's all, right? But I've given this proposal, and I don't know when it will get implemented, is also to have a little more depth to that, is like at least get their resume, the intern's resume, and also get like some subjective questions on how, what is your ideas, what project you want to work on, because a lot of students have a lot of ideas. So if those then can come in, so that's also good.
Hmm. Absolutely. And talking about ideas, how open is an institution like yours? How
Yeah.
open is it to external feedback, external opinions, external, uh, any
Yeah,
suggestion?
I suppose it is person centric. Like depends on whom are you reaching out to. One is that an organization in itself also has its own inertia, open, how much open it is to feedback. So there is a bit of like I feel like one, like how can one open up more. I believe Niti Aayog in itself, it is quite open than comparing to other ministries and all, because we work with a lot of private sector entities, partners, specialist consultants. So those things are taken into feedback for sure. But I don't know how much of on-ground realities are taken into consideration. So, I mean, those feedbacks can be improved, but at the same time, it's also very personal. Like if you reach out to me or if you reach out to someone else, I am not very much open. I am like little rigid. है ना? You reach out to me and you'll tell me, ki, Vinay, can you improve? Yeah, like just one idea just came on the chat. Na, ki, can you create this 70 or 71 ministries ka website, like a place where all these government jobs are available? You reach out to me and I'm like, yeah, why do I need to? You go to each ministry, there's a diversity in doing this, right? I can say this also. There's other person who is like, nahi, okay, I hear you, good idea, so let's see what we can do. You tell me, can you give a proposal? Okay, this is the proposal. Do you have an understanding? Let's see. Okay, then if there's something solid coming out of it, okay, let's go and talk to someone who can be open. Generally, I found that people at top, at least to ideas, they also want to have a lot of lot of ideas coming in, and they want to work on those things, right? It's the in between processes, not people, in between processes, which tends to uh, rub off all those enthusiasm and passion. So yeah.
Mhm. Sure. Um, we might be coming to an end soon. So just in case if anyone would like to, ask anything to Vinay that we have not talked about, please feel free to
And there's
enter
one
the
question
question in the
on,
chat.
yeah,
Mhm.
work per week. So it's 5 day for us. I don't know how it is for other ministries. And work is not, I mean, it is decent. I mean, not that hectic. We have a lot of, like, if you are driven yourself, you'll end up taking a lot of things. Even if you are not, then you can also hide in the majority that exists. Okay, so that's how it is, honestly.
Mm.
Uh,
Since you have worked private, in a private organization and a government organization, hmm, which one would you prefer for your career ahead? Yeah.
which one I would prefer versus private and the government?
How about, let us say, which one would you recommend others to pursue? Would you recommend others to join a private organization or a government organization?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, generic statement, I don't think I can make. Depends on
Hmm.
person to person, है ना? How what their capabilities are, what stage of life they are at.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, both has its own pros and cons. That is something that I can share, and I've shared. Right, in a government, you could have little bit more meaning, and you could be working for the people in some ways, at least in some ways. You know? In a corporate, you might be feeling that you're working for an empire, or like I mean, nothing against it, not saying anything negative about it, but you could feel that.
Hmm.
Or also, there are a lot of corporates which are socially conscious, and then they would be working for people, so that meaning could be there. Yeah. So that is one, but at the same time, being in a government is also tedious. It's tiring process. You have to tedious and tiring is because of the complexity, and since it's complex, things sometimes move slow unless there is a from the superior there is a pressure. Then sometimes move slow, and there's a hierarchy and all those things. So one has to just learn to accommodate the way through it. Yeah, I'm not saying one needs to let go of their ambition on their personal integrity, but one needs to balance it and understand how do you play around with it. You have seen me struggle on it. Yeah.
Absolutely, Vinay. And hmm, quite a lot of things to digest there. Uh,
Please,
I
please.
don't think. Yes, please.
No, no, I'm saying you go ahead.
No, I think I'm done with all the questions that I had in my list. So I prepared a list before from the question that we received earlier. And yes, I think that should be it. If you think that there is something that can help the students, the job seekers, uh, please feel free to share that, Vinay. Anything that we left.
Um, so one thing I forgot to mention is, I mean, it could be a bit of challenge.
Mhm.
Should have been mentioned earlier also, is that at least in NITI na, so you are eligible to be hired as the entry level. The young professional is only after 1 year of experience. Yeah.
Mhm.
So as a fresher, it is, I don't know how many such vacancies are available, and the reason is logically it is that one needs to be a little bit expert to get into a government, right? And without any work experience, how do you become an expert, right? So that is how it is. So I mean, I don't know, when you are starting off, how like how do you envision yourself to be working with the government? One is the path of the regular path of fighting some entrance exam and going through that process. Um, uh, and then the second is like trying to become an expert, like, but at the early stage only will you restrict yourself saying, hey man, I'll after 4 years I'll be working with the government? Like, will you restrict? You could be open to various other opportunities also. So what one can focus at this point is to develop those skills, those base expertise, because unless one doesn't have that, people will not value. Like, and I'm not saying I have a great deal of it, but at least some base, at least you should have that expertise. You should have your own flavor to look at the world, and look at the problem around you, always trying uh, to be open to different worldviews, but also accommodative, but also not letting go of your own identity. Like, these kind of things I feel helped me.
Mhm.
I still try to work on that.
Oh, there, uh, there's
Yeah,
a
there are.
question.
Okay, so there's a question on, do internship count as work experience at NITI? Um, we do give certificates, so those certificates are given if one wants to put it across as a experience. Yeah, I mean, it is an experience for sure. What is an internship experience? Do we need undergraduate and postgraduate degree both from India, or just undergraduate in India and postgraduate from any combination? There is no such rule. Sometimes some programs in some hirings they would say that you need to be postgraduate. So for some roles, so, and this much of amount of experience, like 5, 6, or 3, 4, whatever number of experience they would have. Okay, this is, I mean, if I've done previous internship, would that count as work experience when I apply to NITI? Right. So as I said, right, currently the NITI internship portal, if you look at it, it doesn't have that option of putting in your experience, past experience, and even like putting in your resume also. So those things are not there. So in some ways, it's irrelevant. Unfortunately, it's a very black and white approach where percentage cutoff is available. Based on percentage, some people are like available in front of the people, like people whom they want to choose to intern, and then they, based on the percentage on the college that they are in, they kind of go call up that person or send the mail internship selection mail to them. But I will keep working on getting it better. Matlab, that's one project which I have picked up. So yeah.
Hmm, interesting. And yes, that should be it. Um, let me
Shika's follow-up
share.
question is, if you want to reach out, you can reach out to me, but I don't know how much of help I will be of, because it's through the, you can apply on the portal platform. But let us say you apply, and also, I mean, I believe, like, uh, excellence also have little subjective. So if you have some ideas that you want to work on, you can write to me on my, actually you have applied, okay, so you can write to some of the people, right? You can go to that website. Let's say you applied for agriculture vertical, okay, as an to intern in agriculture vertical. Then what, you go to NITI website to identify the person who is there, and then send a mail to them, saying that I want to work on this project. Sending a mail is also a little tricky, because people receive a lot of emails. So what you send is, yeah, so okay, you've already sent an email. Good. So that email has to be precise on what you want to do, not what is your background. Okay, well, because sometimes it's the other way around, right? At NITI, the process is that we have certain works, okay, and for those work, I am looking for some kind of person who with certain skill sets, okay. So that way, they approach people like that generally. At least at AIM, it is like that. In some other vertical, it could be based on expertise and area. So that's for sure. So sometimes they ask for assignment after one clears. Okay, assignment part I have not experienced. um, Criteria of those assignments, I have not experienced, but I am assuming that will be, very, um, like how it is, how your professor judges your assignment, how much you have been, like if you have been given to analyze the innovation ecosystem in the country, how much thought you are able to put into it, how much understanding you are able to put into it, and all those things. So uh, uh, frankly speaking, if that assignment has not been selected or not been looked at, I mean, one possibility is that, like, it could not have come across as one, or the second is like the work was not really looked, like inviting enough for the person who was hiring. Yeah, so that's one for sure. But if you have, for innovation ecosystem part, if you have any kind of idea or thought, na, you can definitely write me. You can look up my mail ID on the website, AIM website, aim.gov.in website. Yeah.